a white pickup truck in this cell phone video that's on your screen right now. That is the description of one of the videos, or one of the vehicles that was hijacked from Odessa. We do know that there were shooting incidents in both Midland and Odessa. As far as initial reports, we know that there's at least one innocent bystander dead, at least 10 injured. We have received reports that there's a little bit of panic going on at the Music City Mall in Odessa. But we're working to confirm everything with officials right now. We've been in contact with the Midland Police Department, the Odessa Police Department, Midland District Attorney's Office. And right now we have Melissa Hendricks Beach, our news director. And
Dana, obviously I was ready to grill today and watch a little bit of football, and not prepared to come to work, but it's one of those days where you drop what you're doing and get out here and help out. We've got a room.
It only took a few minutes for me to realize the severity of the situation, given the amount of phone calls that we got, the panic in the people's voices.
Right.
And once I got a hold of DPS for the first time, the severity of everything kind of settled in, and just kind of been in reaction mode since then.
Yeah, national story right now. We're getting phone calls from all of our fellow
Syndicates.
colleagues and family members. So a lot of us here have not had a chance to respond to family members who are worried about us because they're hearing these reports.
Yes.
And we are trying to get in touch with them to let them know we're okay, and then also get them updated on the information. So, but it's one of those moments where everybody's pitching in and getting the very latest information out that we can, while helping to get that information to family as well. So let's update what we have so far. I know everybody has been talking about this from beginning to end, but what we do know is that there was the chase on I-20.
Right.
Drivers were heading westbound.
Right. It appears that's where the initial shots were fired. It's appeared that's where the DPS officer was injured. We do have reports that he's in stable condition, and it appears that several people, bystanders, may have been shot. Active threat in Midland. That was the latest information that we got from Midland about 20 minutes ago. So as far as where the latest activity of a possible active shooter, right now we would have to estimate that there might be more threat in the Odessa area. But that doesn't mean that people in Midland should go outside or start patrolling around and trying to, everybody right now in Midland and Odessa needs to stay inside. That's the latest information.
Let me tell you an age-old story about how my heart
start this meeting? Recording? Oh, I got it. Okay. Sorry, this is not my camera. It's a photo. Hey, Leslie.
Guys, what I'll do is give a very short opening statement. I'll take a few questions. Then, I mean, surely you guys understand that this is a very fluid situation that we're going to have to get back to, okay? And understand also that we will have periodic updates. This won't be it. We'll keep you guys informed. We'll make sure everyone knows what's going on. Okay.
Sorry, 1 second.
Wow, what a horrific day for Odessa, Ector County, Midland County. Let's start at the beginning. Situation started about 3:17 this afternoon when a DPS trooper attempted to stop a gold Honda. When the DPS troopers got the car stopped, he was then shot by the occupant of the car. The vehicle continued westbound into the city of Odessa and shot an individual at I-20 in our east loop. Apparently, the subject then drove on our east loop to 42nd Street, where there were multiple scenes and multiple victims. At some point, the subject stole a mail truck, ditched his car, and there were other victims after that. The victim then went eastbound back on 42nd towards Synergy, which is a local movie theater, and at that point was contacted by law enforcement, by officers from the Odessa Police Department, the Midland Police Department, the Texas Department of Public Safety, and I'm sure others. Again, this is a very fluid, changing situation. So please understand that what I'm telling you is not written in stone. These facts, this knowledge can change. Okay. At that point, this subject was contacted by law enforcement, and an exchange of gunfire happened, and that subject is deceased at that location. We have law enforcement injured. We have the DPS trooper in Midland County. We have one MPD officer and one OPD officer that were struck. As far as civilian casualties, we have at least 21 victims, 21 shooting victims, and at least 5 deceased at this point in time. Please understand that this is not just an OPD and a Midland Police Department and a DPS thing. Both Sheriff's Office, Midland County Sheriff's Office and Ector County Sheriff's Office was involved in the hunt for this guy. Our local school district police department, our University of the Texas of the Permian Basin School, police department was involved. This was a joint effort by just a multitude of departments to find this animal and bring him to justice. At this point, I'll take questions.
Has the suspect been identified?
Right now, I'll tell you that he is a white male in his mid-30s. I don't have a positive identification on him yet. I have an idea who he is, so I won't release that information until we're absolutely positive.
Are there any current active shooters going on at this time?
We've had calls, which is to be expected, because obviously our citizens are a little jumpy after this, which is also to be expected. But once this individual was taken out of the picture, there have been no more victims.
Is there a reason to believe that there is a second suspect that is on the loose?
There have been reports that that's possible, but again, there have been no confirmations of that.
Any updates on the conditions of the other people that were shot but are still alive?
I can't tell you that right now, and you know, the big thing is it's so chaotic still at the local hospitals that it's very difficult to get that information.
A lot of people on Facebook are searching for family members who they probably are not able to get a hold of. What's the idea and behind that, and how they can keep in contact with the hospital and other law enforcement?
Well, again, once we are able to compile a list of victims' names, we can absolutely put that out.
cafeteria, and they do have 12 chaplains on staff.
So we got reports of 2 vehicles earlier today. What, I guess, is that not confirmed?
I think what the issue with that was that you had the original vehicle and then you had the mail truck. At one point, we didn't know that that was the same person, but that is confirmed now. Same person. Anything else?
Do we know what kind of firearm was used? Was it a gun? Was it a shotgun?
Obviously, it was a gun. At this point, I'm really not sure.
And then how did the incident begin?
Again, it started with the traffic stop, the attempted traffic stop by the UPS.
Precautions for the general public?
You know, I would tell people to still be cautious, still try to stay in their residences if all possible. We do believe that we have the threat contained, but I can't be 1,000% positive that that's the case at this point.
It might be way too early to tell, but any motive that you guys are?
No, absolutely. I can't tell you of a motive at this point.
Do you know what the traffic stop was for?
I do not.
Do you know what happened to the postal employee that, I guess, their truck was hijacked?
At this point, I don't know. I would assume that he's part of the victim list, but I'm not sure of his status.
I saw an ECISD bus going down 191. Are you guys using the school transportation to help the victims or patients or anything like that?
Not to my knowledge, no. Okay. All right. Thank you, guys. We're going to go back to work, and we will update you periodically, okay?
I just want to make sure I have my facts right. Is that okay if I just ask you a few more questions?
EMS?
Same questions as one confirmed.
I mean, do you want to give it EMS?
This is police Mike.
20,
Mike Gerke?
Jerky. It's called Gerke. It's Gerke.
Gerke.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Do you want to give an EMS?
Sure, I
Okay,
don't
Chief
mind.
Alvarez is going to give an EMS update if you guys would like him to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Wait.
I'm all wrapped.
Chief, sorry about today, man.
Chief, I think you're... You want to come? No, you're good.
oh, what am I?
I don't know. I think... I have no idea. Someone might have gotten it for you.
We got it, thank you.
Okay, good. Sorry, I had to bend down with my...
John Alvarez, testing one,
Yeah, it
two,
was already
three.
up, so when you texted me, I was like, okay, I got to see you up. But I'm going. Sorry.
Look at you.
Not my equipment.
I'm ready to go. Is everyone ready? Yep. Could you start by telling me your first and last name and please spell it?
John Alvarez, JOHN ALVAREZ, Fire Chief, Odessa Fire Rescue.
Okay. How many victims can we confirm so far?
Well, so far we've got 21 victims that were transported to either a medical center or RMC. We've also had some that were transported to Midland Memorial Hospital. So that's the count at this point.
Okay, now for families out there that are worried about their loved ones, what is our next step? How can they find out more information about their family member?
Sure. As our public information officer said, that once we get that information, once we get a list, then we'll be able to put that information out to the public to be able to reach out to the loved ones.
All those that were wounded, are those gunshot victims?
Some were, yes, for the most part, they were gunshot victims, unfortunately. We did have, the count right now is 5 deceased, according to the reports that I have received. So that's where we're at this point.
Did it start in Midland and then travel west?
That is my understanding. I mean, I'm not law enforcement, but that's the understanding that I have, is that it did move from Midland to Odessa, and unfortunately, we did have some casualties here.
Is there anything that the residents of this community can do, like giving blood, plasma, any type of thing?
Well, it's too early to say right now at this point, but I can tell you that right now it's just, just shelter in place right now. I'm sure the police department has sent out that message to the community to make sure that everybody's aware of what's going on at this point.
Do we know how many are are in Odessa hospitals, or how many are in Midland hospitals, or does that count?
That count, we're just trying to figure that out at this point. But I can tell you that we've notified Medical Center Hospital. We've also notified Odessa Regional Medical Center and Midland Memorial Hospital. So we've also notified our outlying communities such as Andrews, Crane for any assistance. We do have Midland Fire Department here that is assisting us. They've had got several units that are provided to us to assist us with anything that comes up at this point.
Okay, I just want to confirm. So this is a traffic stop gone wrong with DPS somewhere in Midland. Where is it that all 21 people were shot? Were they shot at the Synergy right there off of 191? Is that where the majority of it happened?
Ma'am, I do not know. I do not know that, as I'm not law enforcement. But all I can tell you is that we've had several casualties that we've transported.
Police chief or the DPS, just to know.
About how many units responded from your department?
We had several of our units. We to the point to where we had a call for Midland Fire Department to assist us with some of our EMS runs out here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, now there we go.
Okay, well, back here at the News West 9 studios, we're just going through all this information, trying to kind of digest it.
One of the things that came out of the press conference is that they are not sure what kind of firearm was used. So right now we don't know what the shooter was using.
I don't want to speak out of turn. Obviously, caught up in the fluidity of the situation. When I was speaking with DPS officials, they told me that the shooter had a rifle. Now, that's not Odessa Police. I mean, obviously these law enforcement agencies all have to speak with one another and confirm information with one another, but that came directly from a DPS official that we rely on for a lot of confirmed information. It was also in the heat of the moment.
Yeah,
but
so just not confirmed right now.
Right, but it appears, he told me that they were using a rifle. Also
really important to note that whenever they're doing those press conferences, they're doing that as a courtesy to the public to let them know what's going on and get us updated. They are taking time during a very hectic moment to give us the very latest information that they have, but Chief Gerke was expressing concern about giving information out that could possibly change even what he was giving us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He painted a little bit of a timeline that kind of cleared up that two-shooter situation for us. Still a little bit of questions about what was going on with that white pickup truck. Obviously, there could have been different descriptions. Maybe something else happened. We just knew that we did have reports at Synergy that came from Police Gerke. So, but if you listen to what he had to say, he basically said, again, as we had suspected, that this all started with a traffic stop just after 3 o'clock. DPS officer tried to pull over a gold Honda on I-20. That suspect, that driver, firing shots, hitting that DPS officer, and then taking off. I-20 to East Loop, and then East Loop, where he said another person was shot in that area, and then from East Loop to 42nd Street, where apparently most of this chaos took place, and that kind of lines up with everything that we heard from social media reports. Everyone was, what's going on at Home Depot, what's going on at Twin Peaks, such a heavy police presence, and from Police Gerke, Chief Gerke, he said multiple shootings and multiple victims in that area before he traveled to Midland and then back east to Synergy, where he appears to have been killed.
When that trooper initially pulled the suspect over in the gold Honda, the suspect in that gold Honda shot that trooper right there, and this is where the whole thing started. That vehicle went west, like you said, east Loop 250, and traveled to 42nd Street. Multiple victims there, and then multiple victims at Synergy. Again, Odessa Police, Ector County Sheriffs, Midland Police, Midland County Sheriffs, School District Police, even the colleges and the ECISD, MPD, MISD
all hands
police.
on deck. And
everybody is helping out with this, and
something that's not uncommon to this area, but obviously given the scope and the gravity of this situation, you'd love to see that our officers are
pulling together,
so able to work together in such fluidity. And if you missed it in the press conference, he did identify the suspect as a white male in his mid-30s. I found it interesting. I don't know if you caught it, but he said that he had an idea
of who it was,
who he might be. Leads us to believe, obviously we don't want to make any assumptions or play the gossip game, but maybe this person was a local. He seemed to have, that's just what I took away from it, considering that he said he might know who he was. That will obviously be released in the near future.
Could mean anything, if they run plates and find out who it is.
That's true.
They just aren't releasing any names, but he did say that he had an idea of who it was that might be the suspect. Again, that suspect was shot, and I think it's really important to mention the victims in this case, because there are 21 victims shot. And at this time, we don't know the names of any of those victims. They aren't releasing those. And one of the reasons I think that they're not releasing those is they said they're compiling a list of names.
Right.
And of course, next of kin and things have to be notified if there is a death involved. We know 21 victims were shot. We don't know the severity of those injuries, but we do know that 5 people right now are confirmed dead.
Right, outside of those 21, I believe.
Yep.
And right now we do have some new sound. We have some breaking sound that just came into our newsroom from apparently a witness to one of the shootings. So we're going to go ahead and take that sound bite for you really quick.
Synergy was surrounded by police officers, and then there was police officers nearby the area. So as we were leaving, that's when we saw the U.S. Postal van going right as we passed the street at a high rate of speed going east, like towards Synergy. But they had drove behind Synergy. They had the roads blocked. He ran into a couple of police officers, and they were shooting at the van when it came to a stop. Once I guess they got nearby and they realized that he was not alive, is when they pulled him out of the van. Crazy. I just never realized that we would have experienced anything like that here in our own community. Because, we were running, and at the same time, you're looking out for your loved ones, making sure that they're behind you or close by. Your heart's going at 100 miles an hour thinking, are we going to get out of here alive? It was crazy. It was scary. It was crazy. Our hearts were racing, and, telling my husband, I didn't know we were going to run out the front door and get shot or run out the front door and be safe.
Obviously, just a very scary situation. You can kind of hear the fear in her voice there as she kind of laid out the end to that shooter's life at Synergy, where he appears to have been shot, and she was kind of there for that. I remember I spoke with when we were kind of receiving all of these phone calls and the heat of the moment and everything was unfolding. We got a call from one of our sales associates, Simona, who was at Synergy as well, and she said SWAT had run into the theaters, and I had so many things to do, and I didn't want to obviously put her off as a friend and a colleague. I was trying to confirm information, but just hearing that fear in her voice, it's something. It's tough to deal with at times. Anyways, now we're going to go ahead and toss it over to Lauren, who has some reports from social media for us.
That's right, Dana. I'm still on social media, just still looking at y'all's tweets, still looking at that information that you're wanting to know from us, or maybe here if you missed it. But like we said, the press conference has confirmed that 5 are dead and 21 have been injured. But of those 5, I've actually come across a tweet. We cannot confirm this information. This was not confirmed in the press conference. Danielle Lay has said mail carriers whose vehicle was stolen is dead. They did confirm that mail carrier's vehicle was stolen, but she's saying that the mail carrier is dead. My husband works for USPS, and he has confirmed it. It was a young lady. That is just tragic. Do y'all know where that mail carrier was when it was stolen at the time? Do we have that information?
We believe it was out of Odessa. At this time, we're not sure exact of the location.
We know that the vehicle went west on I-20, and according to Chief Gerke, headed down East Loop in Odessa to 42nd Street.
And it was at some point in that movement of the suspect that he abandoned his gold Honda and then stole
that mail truck. Yep.
As you can see on our screen right now, we've got some of our local officials. I've seen Brooks Landgraf, this is Jerry Morales, and we obviously had the statement from Governor Abbott just a few moments ago, who are all expressing their condolences and asking the public to remain safe and, you know, please stay away from going outside tonight. Just stay at home. That's been the message all along since this all started at about 3 o'clock. And now we're actually going to go ahead and toss to Tate Owen, who's still at the Medical Center Hospital, and she's going to give us a little bit of an update from out there. So Tate, what do you have for us?
Thank you. So I'm still out here at Medical Center Hospital in Odessa, keeping an eye on the situation as it unfolds. And you know, we're actually not seeing as many ambulances arrive as we would expect to see with a situation like this. Now, we do have reports that are confirmed 5 people are dead, including a Midland police officer, Odessa police officer, and a state trooper. Again, we do have confirmed reports that 21 people are also injured. So if I step out of the scene for you just a little bit so you can take a look at what we've been looking at, you can see that there is an ambulance right here. Now, he's getting ready to leave the premises as we're speaking. So we're not sure if he's transporting somebody out of the facility or in the facility, but we do know for sure it has been confirmed by Medical Center Hospital officials. But what they're doing right now in this hospital is transporting people to make room for the people with the more critical injuries. So again, as this situation unfolds, I will keep you updated. I'm going to stay out here at the hospital and watch things, and I'll update you as that continues to happen.
Thanks, Tate. And just for some clarity, I know she's got a lot going on out there at the hospital as she continues to try and compile the latest information for us. It kind of sounded like she said that 5 people were dead, and that included the Midland Police Department officer, the Odessa Police Department, and DPS officer. That doesn't appear to be the case, according to the police chief, Gerke. We don't believe any of the officers
and I'm
were killed in this situation.
I'm getting a social media report. This is, of course, unconfirmed. All social media reports are. But we are getting a social media report about an area on I-20 from JBS Parkway, that there are trucks out there and lots of blood on the road. And it appears to be an oil-filled sand truck. So lots of reports like that coming in where folks are out and about and may not be aware of what's going on and coming across these scenes. And again, if you have relatives that are out and maybe running errands and may not be aware, you might just kind of check on them or ask them to stay put for just a little bit while law enforcement is working a very difficult situation.
Yeah, and you know, a little bit removed now from the police conference, I guess, if just in case you're just tuning in, we should probably go ahead and run through the facts of the case. As of right now, although we started with an active shooter threat, it appears that threat is over here in the Permian Basin. That's the latest from Police Chief, Odessa Police Chief, Mr. Gerke. He says the suspect has been killed. We do know that 21 victims were shot. We know that 5 are dead. We know this all started with a traffic stop, which it appears to have taken place in, I believe, Midland County off I-20, and then that's where that suspect during that traffic stop just shot at a DPS officer. The traffic stop was being conducted by DPS, shot the officer, and then possibly shot maybe a civilian there. We know that of the 21, we haven't confirmed how many were shot in each incident, but after that incident, after that traffic stop, he fled the scene, fled to Odessa, shot somebody at I-20 in East Loop, and then took East Loop to 42nd Street, where we got all of those reports. We got all of those phone calls about so many different shootings kind of unraveling there, and by the Twin Peaks, by the Walmart, by that very popular
reports of multiple victims there.
Yeah, very popular shopping area. We got reports that UTPB had been placed on lockdown. I think all of that kind of worked together in that situation. And after those string of shootings, what appears to be, he then fled back to Midland. And at some point, excuse me, I'm getting ahead of myself. At some point, he hijacks a mail van, flees back to Midland, shoots a Midland officer and possibly more victims, and then heads east to Synergy. And that appears to where this all came to an end. And DPS, and as we mentioned, all officers, Midland County Sheriff's Office, Midland Police Department, Ector County, nearly every local agency kind of came together, converged on this suspect, and were able to shoot and kill that suspect.
We know that suspect is, Chief Gerke says, is a white male in his mid-30s. We know that Chief Gerke says that he believes he knows who the suspect is and has him identified, but they are not releasing any names at this point until they are completely sure and have that information confirmed. We'll get you that information as soon as we have it confirmed, and we will let you know. More importantly, we will get you the names of the victims as soon as we know. They are compiling a list of those victims. We know 21 victims, so at this point we know that 5 are dead. You know, an interesting thing that we don't know yet is they have not said exactly what type of firearm was used, and they have not said why that gold Honda was pulled over initially. We don't know. So far, there are just no reports of that. So we are working on getting you that information. We have a newsroom that is full of people right now and support coming from all of our stations across the state of Texas to help us out with this story. So we will keep you updated on digital and social media as well as here on the air.
Right. And I do have a new statement from President Trump on Twitter as we remain kind of in the focus of all of the nation at this time, given the horrific nature and the gravity of this situation. President Trump has tweeted, and I'll quote, "Just briefed by Attorney General about shootings in Texas. FBI and law enforcement is fully engaged. More to follow." And again, we already know that Governor Abbott to help brief, I guess, federal officials and local law enforcement and kind of try to move forward from this tragedy. You know, Melissa, it's not something that I really wanted to talk about, but obviously, I think if you follow News West 9, you know I was in El Paso, and I saw that community that had to rally together, and I didn't think that I would have to report on something like this again so soon. It's just it's so painful because, you know, we just look at the numbers right now as we try to bring you the latest information. We know that 21 people are affected. We know that 5 are dead. We know that those 21 people branch out into families and friends and that make up our community. And obviously we don't know the condition of those people that are hurt and how many will survive and how many we could end up with more. And just the loss of life, it's something that
senseless. It's senseless.
It's senseless, and
yeah, this is something that no community is prepared to deal with, but certainly something that you never expect to happen to you. And you hear so many times people saying that whenever gun violence is going on, and you know, lots of finger pointing and. The bottom line is that you know, we've got to bond together.
The innocent lives that are lost. We need to remember them correctly. We need to mourn them, and this gives the community a chance to come together in tragedy and hopefully eventually send a message to these people of violence that they won't. I don't know. It's just so tough to cover.
Yeah,
these things
and at this point, again, you know, hang on to your loved ones. Tell them to stay inside.
Cook a home cooked meal tonight.
And
say an extra prayer for those victims.
Certainly for the victims, and we're hoping that we don't get any more reports of any more victims. 21 right now, 5 dead.
Of course, that tragic
no
situation
idea
with the 17-month-old.
Yeah, no idea what sort of injuries, but we do know that 17-month-old, that's just, you know, under 2 years old, a little toddler, shot in the face, from what we understand, and is heading out to University Medical Center in Lubbock for hopefully the best care that we can possibly get to that child.
West Texas.
So keep in mind that it's important to stay out of the way of officers who are trying to work these scenes.
Absolutely.
It's important to let them do their work and do their jobs. so that if there is a second suspect, they'll find them. At this point, they've not indicated that there was anyone else involved. They believe there is only one individual that was causing all of this chaos. We believe that's a white male, mid-30s. They believe they know who this white male is. And
one thing I wanted to touch on, you kind of mentioned that they don't believe there's another threat out there right now. They believe that one suspect was the case and one suspect has been killed, but we have gotten reports of the Odessa City Mall, we've gotten reports of the Midland Mall, and Police Chief Gerke addressed that and he said, you know, these calls are okay. If you're frightened or if you feel something might be out of place, please call, let us look into it, let us have our officers respond to it, let's prevent any other violence from happening. He understands people are a little jumpy, and he understands, you know, given the nature of this case, that people are a little on edge. So remain vigilant, remain aware of your surroundings, but as of right now,
many places, rightfully so,
Right.
went on lockdown.
Right.
And I know we had a Bureau reporter out at the Ector County Coliseum. They locked down that Ector County Coliseum. He was inside. He said there was nothing there that was out of the ordinary and that they did take them off lockdown, but kept that heavy law enforcement presence just outside of the gates to make sure that everybody was safe inside. So again, law enforcement taking extra precautions to keep people safe. We know that Music City Mall was also an area that they were concerned about to get inside, make sure that you know, the folks that were inside of the mall were okay. And at this point, we don't have specific details, but I believe many of those folks out there in the mall were evacuated as well. So just taking those extra precautions and making sure that
anytime
they're
there's
safe.
a situation like this, take every precaution necessary. It's always better to be safe than sorry. Now, right now, we do have another soundbite that's come in from a witness to these shootings. We're going to go ahead and let you hear what they had to say.
Well, things are hectic out here. Had a lot of people scrambling into the Coliseum, just trying to get to safety because there were, you know, rumors of active shooters in the area. Of course, that's all been confirmed now. So a lot of people just take and shelter inside the Coliseum. There's a mother kind of running out towards the midway where the rides are and whatnot, and saying she was going after her daughter. Oh my gosh, she had to get her daughter, and that was kind of sent everybody into a little frantic situation right there. But she got her daughter and a couple other little kiddos that were with that family. And shortly after that, quite a few people came running into the Coliseum. Heavy law enforcement presence on the premises still, and I would imagine that will continue to be the case still.
Okay, well, we are getting some new information into the newsroom at this time. We do know that there are some events going on in the Permian Basin right now, including
that Permian Basin Fair,
which
is there at the Ector County Coliseum.
Which is still going on, as is being reported from one of our reporters, but the crowds are very thin, and really you're not recommended to go out there. If you had plans to go out there, go out another night, maybe reschedule it for another time, because tonight is just, you don't want to be on the roads. There are still investigations, there are still police presences out there. You don't want to get involved with that. And our other reporter was able to inform us that Summer Mummers has also been canceled for tonight. So, you know, sure you can get a rain check on those tickets. It's a great event. Everybody loves Summer Mummers, but not tonight.
I'm getting an unconfirmed report that is an update on the Midland police officer who was shot. This unconfirmed report says that he is out of surgery and is in stable condition. Now, this again is very unconfirmed, but at this point, if that is the case, that would be very good news. Very good news. And any other reports that we have coming in?
We actually have a breaking report right now. I don't want to interrupt you, but we are going to have a press conference from the Medical Center Hospital with Tate. So let's go ahead and hear the latest from what's going on there. Maybe we can find out what's going on with all those victims that we know were affected.
I'm gonna go live.
That's the furthest it can go.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I think it's a TBU because my TBU is plugged into the car.
All right. I'm going to try to give everybody time to set up. Sorry. All right, here we go. Thank you all for coming out here on a short notice. We appreciate you being here. First of all, we're just going to be very short and very brief, but we felt it necessary just to update everybody and just to get on top of this situation. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Russell Tippin. I'm the CEO of Medical Center Health Systems. I'm joined here by Matt. He's our Chief Operations Officer. We have Cherise here. She's an RN. And then we have our marketing guy here, Lucas. So we're just, what I'm going to do here just briefly is give some facts, some quick information. I know everybody's wanting to know what the status and everything is, but we just want to come out here brief. After this is over, we're going to go back, get some more details, to get our heads wrapped around this, and then we'll inform the media when we're going to come out again with some more information, okay? So first of all, let me start with this. Anybody that hears the sound of my voice, you need to grasp on to your loved ones and hold on to them, and you need to pray for this town and all the towns and the families and the victims involved. You need to hold on to them because this is a scary incident and nobody is guaranteed tomorrow. And if you are here, you can hear my voice, please take a minute to stop and give your thoughts and your prayers to all the families and the victims of this tragic incident, okay? First of all, that's the first thing we need to do first is do that. I'm going to give you just some information about what we have going on here at Medical Center, and let me give you an update. What we know is right now we have 14 victims in the hospital, okay? We have 14 victims inside. I'm not ready to discuss ages or anything like that, but I will let you know we have 14 people on site. The hospital has staged an area for the families. We have counselors, grief counselors, everybody, social workers with the families right now, trying to provide them support. So we have them staged in the area. We have an executive nurse, and the nursing team is assigned to that area to take families and update them on their family members or friends that are here. And so we have somebody assigned to that to work with the families, okay? The hospital and all the locations are locked down, and that's only for the safety of our staff and for everybody in the hospitals, okay? Once we feel it safe to open that back up, we will. But right now, everything is locked down for safety purposes, all right? Our nurses, doctors, everybody, lab techs, housekeeping, everybody is doing a fantastic job. We have good blood sources. We have good supplies right now. Everything is good at this point, okay? As far as we know, we're hearing it like y'all are. We're getting a lot of updates, a lot of information, but right now the hospital is stable, it's secure. Everybody that was in the hospital, we've secured them, we're taking care of them while taking in all these people at the same time.
In case you're just joining us, we are covering a very difficult event here in the Permian Basin. DPS trooper tried to pull over a gold Honda. This all started with this one car being pulled over. When that DPS trooper tried to pull that Honda over, that driver of that Honda shot that DPS trooper. That vehicle then traveled down East Loop to Odessa on 42nd Street. Multiple victims there where he stole a postal van and took off, I believe, going to Midland.
Back to Midland. Shot what we believe was a Midland officer, maybe some more victims. We don't really know about. I mean, we're doing the numbers as we get them. We know 21 victims. We know 14 at Medical Center Hospital. We know one was airlifted, and we know the officers. So we don't know exactly how many people were shot in what city or what that case may be, but we'll obviously paint that picture. Now,
After going to Midland, though, went back to Odessa and to the synergy there, and again, multiple victims.
Now we do have something that
in those various locations.
We want to go ahead and we know we have a lot of college students in the area, and a lot of this craziness was taking place at that Twin Peaks in that 42nd and University area. So UTPB, they had issued a lockdown of their campus. So right now we just got this tweet from the University of Texas of the Permian Basin that's asking students, and I'll read in quote, "If you are on campus resident, we will be verifying that you are okay. If you live in the RDH, your RAs or hall director will be checking with you. If you live in apartments, please come to the Parker Ranch House at 6:30 to check in." Obviously, just want to make sure that all of their students are okay and that everyone is accounted for.
And we are getting messages.
Speaking of social media, though, I don't want to interrupt you. We do have Victor Blanco on deck, who's been wanting to share with us some of what's going on in social media. He's definitely the most in touch and in tune guy that we have. So, Victor, what's going on in the social media world?
Thank you, Dana. Thousands of people are reaching out to address what is happening, including our president. President Trump reached out to say he has received a brief on what is happening, as well as local government. You can see behind me here we have President Trump tweeted about it, saying that he was addressed by General Barr about the shootings in Texas, as well as other law enforcement agencies that are engaging. I'd also like to share with you some tweets from local government. We had J. Ross Lacey tweeted out prayers for both communities of Midland and Odessa. This is truly a tragedy. And of course, Representative Brooks Landgraf, he reached out to say the tragic situation unfolding in Odessa is serious. Please stay in your homes. I've been in contact with DPS officials, speaker, and governor, and we are working to help in any way possible. But in the meantime, he's asking that you pray for these victims. And again, you're not alone. There are grief counselors out there, but if you're not able to make it to them and you just need to speak with somebody, please feel free to reach out on social media. Our newsroom, our phone number line is online. You can reach out anytime. Let's go ahead and toss things back over to you, Dana and Melissa. Thanks.
Thanks, Victor. We just found out that Medical Center Hospital is going to have another briefing about 7:45, about an hour from now. So they will continue to update us on what's happening there. They're treating 14 victims from the shooting. Right now, the total in all is 21 victims, with 5 of those already confirmed to be dead. Right. We know that a 17-month-old was transported to University Medical Center Hospital in Lubbock, right, and is going to be treated there. Our thoughts and our prayers are going out to all of the families involved, and again, recapping a traffic stop for reasons right now that we do not know. Yeah. Gold.
We don't even know why he was pulled over. That's still another big question.
Gold Honda. Was DPS trooper
planned?
Pulled over.
Was he speeding? Was he driving recklessly to get pulled over? Just so many unanswered questions. Obviously, those will unfold in the investigations to come. But speaking of the Medical Center Hospital, we're going to go ahead and toss things back out to Tate Owen. She has another update for us from the hospital. Tate.
We're a funeral home.
All right, yeah, so I am out here at MCH, and I'm talking with some people out here. They're all bystanders, just kind of taking a look at the situation and really trying to take it in for what it is. Now, we just heard from a hospital official who told us that it is definitely a scary situation that's unfolded. He said that if you're able to hear his voice, or I guess my voice at this point, that you should hug your loved ones and be thankful that you're here. Now, he said that the town definitely needs prayers. They do have grief counselors inside the hospital at the time to help the families kind of cope with everything that's been going on. So, again, he did tell us that there are 14 people here at MCH that are being treated. Now, like I said earlier, there were people that were transported out of the hospital to make room for those more critical patients. That was what we heard from medical center officials. Now, again, we've been told that the blood supplies are good. They're not needing any blood or anything right now. The hospital is stable, but it is on lockdown. Now, he said that was for the safety of both the hospital officials and the patients. So that is what is happening right now. I'm going to step out of the way just a little bit so that you can get a good look at the scene. Now, the hospital official also said that information is coming in waves, so he's going to continue to update us as information comes available. Now, victims started being brought in approximately around 4 p.m. at this particular hospital. He also mentioned that they're pretty much at capacity, so they can't really handle any more patients if any more need to brought in. He couldn't say whether or not there were victims at other local hospitals at the time, but we do have 5 people that were confirmed 21 dead and 21 injured, so we do know that they have to be at other locations, just kind of by trial of elimination. Now, of those people dead, we do know that it for sure has included a Midland Police Department officer, Odessa Police Department, and a state trooper. So just keep in mind how serious the situation is. The hospital's going to provide us more information at 7:45 this evening, and as we get more information, of course, we'll continue to update you. So just go ahead and stay tuned with us at News West 9, and I'm going to send it back to you guys in the studio.
DPS, the Texas Department of Safety, they're all working.
Thank you, Tate. I do want to share with you, UTPB just tweeted out that the dining hall will stay open tonight until 9 p.m. to accommodate any students. If you need to go and eat, check in, speak with somebody, they are there and they're available. You can see behind me, there's the tweet. Again, they'll stay open until 9 p.m. Just stop by, check in with somebody, make sure that you're okay if you need it. Again, there's 51,000 people talking about this online right now if you'd like to join in. It is very unfortunate that we're trending at the moment for this reason, but it is happening, so go ahead and hop over there. We got plenty of tweets coming in and out. Again, we have all of our local government reaching out to let us know. Mike Conaway and his wife Suzanne, they said they're praying for our men and women in blue, victims, first responders on scene, hospital staff preparing for the worst, and loved ones of all affected by this senseless act of violence in Midland and Odessa. And they ask everyone to stay safe and stay informed. So again, you can read there. UTPB will open their dining hall. Again, if you're an on-campus resident, they will be verifying that you're okay. So you'll need to check in with your RDH or your RAs or hall directors, and they're going to come check in with you. If you live in the apartments, please come to the Parker Ranch at 6:30. That's this evening, 6:30 at the Parker Ranch house to check in. They just want to make sure that everyone is okay. Again, 51,000 people talking about this. Reach out if you have something to say. Join that conversation. If you are a student on campus, please go check in with your RA and let them know that you are home and you are safe so that we can get everybody accounted for. At this time, let's go ahead and throw things back over to you, Dana and Melissa.
Thank you, Victor. So,
thanks, Victor.
As we continue to compile this information, I think every few minutes, we should probably just try to relay what happened as we learn about it and we kind of digest it. I'll go ahead and go through the facts of what we know in this case. And again, it all started at just after 3 o'clock, a traffic stop in Midland County by a DPS officer on I-20. That traffic stop led to the driver shooting at the DPS officer, which then struck that DPS officer. He was injured but in stable condition. The scene then goes, that driver then fled the area, went west on I-20, ended up at about the east loop in I-20, shot another person according to police, and then headed east towards 42nd Street. That's where a majority of this mayhem took place. We're told that there were multiple shooting scenes, multiple victims, and that's also where police have said he hijacked a mail van, took that mail van back to Midland. There in Midland, apparently shot a Midland police officer, and then headed back east. And again, this is where it all kind of comes to an end by reports of police that he made it to about the Synergy, the Odessa Synergy, and that's where so many local law enforcement agencies were able to converge on this suspect, get him pulled over, get him stopped in his vehicle, and at some point exchange gunfire, killing that suspect who has been identified as a white man in his 30s. Some of the things that we're still unaware of are how many people were shot at each location and the gun that he used, the firearm. Again, I spoke with DPS in the heat of the moment. They told me that it was a rifle. We don't know what kind of type of rifle or what kind of really anything else about the firearm other than the speculation that that DPS officer in the heat of the moment mentioned that it was a rifle.
We know 21 victims right now.
Right.
I believe Chief Gerke said that those victims were shot, but we do not have any sort of idea of the severity of the victims, and no indication right now of that, and we're working right now to get that information. Right. We know that out of those 21 victims that were shot, one was a DPS officer, one was a Midland Police Department officer, and one was an OPD officer. 5 people are dead now from this shooting rampage. And we know that 14 of these people are being treated at Medical Center Hospital.
Again, all with varying conditions.
Varying conditions, and Medical Center Hospital is compiling a list of names of those victims, and hopefully we'll get some more information for you on those victims. Medical Center Hospital did say that they would have another press conference in about an hour at 7:45. I think it's, about an hour from now. And so we hope to bring you some more information. And of course, we are tracking all of this information on social media, and we are you can get information on our webpage. Anything that we can get you that comes into our newsroom, we have an entire team in there working on this right now. So information is still coming in, and again,
we've gotten a flood of information. We try to confirm everything that we can with officials. Obviously, you've seen the press conferences that we've
making sure
posted.
though that even Chief Gerke's information said could change. So just know that what we are giving you is the best information that we have. So this is what we know right now.
Right. This is very fluid. What we know, one shooter is what it appears to be. Chief Gerke stands by that statement. One shooter started with a traffic stop, shot a DPS officer, stole a mail van, shot multiple people within Odessa, within Midland. We have 21 victims as of right now. 5 people are dead of those victims. Don't know the gun. The man that was arrested was a white male in his 30s, and he is dead, killed by officers at what appears to be Synergy.
And Chief Gerke said, though, that they didn't have any shootings after that suspect was caught. So some good news there that maybe it's contained.
Couple of nervous calls, jumpy calls. People, something's going on. People are nervous, and which is perfectly understandable, and they respect those calls, and they don't enjoy those calls, that's the wrong term, but they appreciate those calls because they want to make sure everyone's safe, and they take every precaution. But as of right now, like you said, no other victims, and it doesn't appear to be an active threat. Now, we do have some new video coming in. This is from within Twin Peaks. I haven't seen it, so viewer beware.
Okay, is this raw video that's coming in?
This is raw video from
shot by a viewer?
Yes.
Okay.
In this video that appears to be looped, you can see the officers in heavy artillery with their armored gear on and their helmets and assault rifles in hand. A scary situation for anyone obviously eating at that restaurant. We did get reports that that suspect went east on the East Loop, and at 42nd Street there was really a scene of mayhem where there were multiple shootings and multiple victims. Obviously, officers responding with all force needed right there in that situation. Just, it's scary to watch. I mean, you have to have the utmost respect for our officers who are willing to put themselves in harm's way anytime their duty is called. And heavy artillery, heavy firearms, armored gear, just ready to take on what appeared to be a very dangerous situation. Now, it didn't get resolved there. That suspect was obviously able to make his way to Midland, according to Chief Gerke, and then make his way back east to Synergy, that's where he finally ran into that final road stop of local authorities who were not going to let him take this dangerous situation one step further.
And lots of unconfirmed reports coming in right now about what's happening with surgeries and with law enforcement surgeries and saving lives out there. So hats off to our medical staff here in the area who are taking care of these victims. They are trained for this, and they do train throughout the year for active shooter type situations or for situations where multiple victims are coming in at one time. Right. So they're really being put to the test today because it's a difficult time. Can't stress enough that we do know that the suspect is no more shootings after that suspect was taken down by police. But we are encouraging everybody, and law enforcement is asking you to stay out of the way of their work and to stay home while they make sure that this situation is under control.
Like you said, cook a home-cooked meal, stay in with the family, hug your loved ones, stay close with everyone tonight, and just say a prayer for the victims. Obviously, we have quite a few victims, and like I kind of mentioned before, from my experience in El Paso, you see how quickly that branches out into a community with 21 victims. There'll be friends, there'll be family, there'll be friends of friends, and obviously we'll have more stories. We'll identify them and remember them and mourn them, and we can expect those kind of things to happen in the near future as we learn more about who those people were and how their lives were tragically cut short. Right now we have another look at the screen. We're going to cut to that. This is a look at Synergy. This was the scene. We obviously have told you that that shooter's life, the active shooter threat, came to an end nearby that Synergy. So you can see just how many law enforcement officers are there. Heavy police presence from Odessa, DPS, I'm sure there's Midland Department. I mean, just in that small little frame of maybe 20 yards, we see about 30 vehicles there.
All law enforcement has in the area has pitched in to help out. We know that we have Odessa Police Department, the Ector County Sheriff's Department, Midland PD, the Midland County Sheriff's Department, and even the MISD and Ector County Independent School District Police, as well as the colleges here in the area with their police patrols are helping out. So a very good show of support and teamwork amongst law enforcement here in the Permian Basin to handle this situation for everybody.
Which is so important because given the proximity of Midland and Odessa and the fact that the suspect was racing from one city to the other, without that kind of communication, without that kind of fluid response, there could have been a lot more danger, there could have been a lot more damage. Not to understate anything that's happened here, but obviously you have to be thankful for the police's response and how they were able to kind of converge and end this situation, such a dangerous situation for everyone involved.
Absolutely.
Well, at this time, we have been on air now for about 2 hours. We want to continue to broadcast to you, let you know everything that as it comes into our newsroom, give you the latest information, the latest from officials as it comes in. But right now, we are going to go back to your regular scheduled programming in just a few seconds. But we will continue on the website at newswest9.com and as well as Facebook Live. So you can continue to watch us. You can continue to bring you all the latest information as we get it. Obviously, we still expect to hear through officials throughout the night. We still expect to hear more about the victims. We still expect to paint this grisly picture and mourn everybody that deserves to be mourned. It's going to be a long night, but we will be here. We'll be here to give you all the latest news and all the latest word from officials, so stick with us on newswest9.com. And again, we'll be back at Newswest 9 at 10. And thank you for sitting in. Okay, well, welcome back. We're going to go ahead and toss things over to Victor, who's been watching our social media presence and watching the social media presence in the Permian Basin.
Thank you, Dana. Yes, I am. Again, we're trending online with over 50,000 people talking about us on Twitter alone. The hashtag Midland shooting has started trending. And again, if you want to join in on that conversation, many people are reaching out, especially UTPB, who is saying if you are a student or even if you're a non-student and you're in the area and you'd like to seek counseling or you just want to check in with somebody, please reach out to them online. That's on Twitter at UTPB, or just reach out to us here on Newswest 9. And we do have Newswest 9 Digital. Again, many people all around are tweeting about this, to include President Trump, Governor Abbott, who said he will be visiting tomorrow for a press conference. But I just want to read to you some other tweets that we had come in earlier. Again, from J.C. Ross Lacey, who tweeted out that his prayers for both the communities of Midland and Odessa, saying that this was truly a tragedy. And then again, Representative Landgraf, again, behind me there you can see Ken Paxton, who said, I'm horrified to see such a senseless act terrorize the fine people of the Permian Basin. Thank you to the courageous local and state first responders who worked quickly today. So again, many of our state officials and local representatives have reached out to share their condolences and their prayers. So if you would like to join that conversation, just head on over to Twitter. We also have a story on Facebook. Everyone is putting their comments there as well. Again, Representative Landgraf also reached out to say that he's working with DPS and the governor and the speaker to help in any way possible. In the meantime, he asked for everyone to continue sending prayers, keeping Midland and Odessa in your thoughts. Same for Representative Conaway, who said he and Susanna, his wife, are praying for our area, the men and women in blue, victims, first responders on scene, hospital staff preparing for the worst, and loved ones all affected by this senseless act of violence. Again, these are all coming for Twitter, so if you want to join in on that conversation, head on over there. You really just have to go online. It's at the top of the page because it is getting that much attention. People are sending their thoughts, their prayers, their condolences, and if you feel you need to reach out to somebody, please join that conversation. Find UTPB. They are holding several areas where you can come and meet with them. So let's go ahead and take things back over to Dana. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Victor. And as we continue our digital coverage here, obviously just a very scary situation that unfolded in our community. Again, this all started at just about after 3 o'clock, where a traffic stop led to a shooting of a DPS officer. Now, at this time, I'm going to go ahead and give you all the details that we do and don't know as I break down this timeline. We know that a traffic stop happened just again after 3 o'clock, about 3:17. A gold Honda was pulled over. We don't know why the car was pulled over, but that driver opened fired, hitting the DPS officer, and then took off. He then drove west on I-20 to the East Loop, is what we're told by Police Chief Gerke, where he shot another person at that time, and then went ahead and went east on the loop to 42nd Street, and this is really where all the mayhem that we're told unfolded. We're told there were several shootings, several victims, and at some point this man left that gold Honda behind and then hijacked a federal mail van and then took that mail van back to Midland. I'm not sure if he was eluding authorities or if they had caught up to him at this point, but he shot a police officer in Midland and then headed east, where he was stopped at about the Synergy. Right there on 151, we've seen plenty of cell phone video. We'll take some of it here in just a moment to show you some of the scene that we saw out there when they surrounded that van, which ultimately led to this demise. We're told that that shooter exchanged gunfire with police, and they were able to kill him in his van. Now, going over the victims, we're told that there were 21 victims total. We're told that 5 people are dead. Of those victims, we're told that 1 Midland police officer, 1 Odessa police officer, and 1 DPS officer were injured. They all appear to be recovering in surgery. Some of those reports are unconfirmed, but we did get an official report that the DPS officer was stable. Again, the suspect has been identified by police as a white male in his 30s. We don't know exactly what kind of gun he was using. In the heat of the moment, as I was speaking with officials and all of this was taking place, DPS officials did tell me that he was armed with a rifle. Now, since the shooter was killed, police have said that there have been no other victims confirmed. There have been some reports of some suspicious activity at, we've heard the Music City Mall in Odessa, the Midland Mall, the Ector County Coliseum. Obviously, people on edge, people a little jumpy, and Police Chief Gerke said, you know, this is fine. Call in these reports. We appreciate them. We want to make sure we take every precaution. But they have investigated. They have been working through them. And as of right now, we have no other active threats reported in the Permian Basin. But still, I think it goes without saying, in the community tonight, you're asked to just stay inside, cook a home-cooked meal, stay with your family, you know, embrace your loved ones, say a prayer for the victims. Obviously, there are 21 they're friends and family of 21 people who are going to be in a very sad and tragic place tonight. So here at News West 9, we extend our condolences, and we hope the community will come together and embrace these victims, and hopefully, as we move forward, mourn them in the proper way. As for those 21 victims, we as of right now, we are told that 14 of them are at Medical Center Hospital continuing to receive treatment. All of their conditions are varied. We do know Medical Center Hospital, what we just heard in the latest press conference, that it is on lockdown as of right now. So if you have some sort of medical situation tonight, you might want to have to find another place to go, because for the safety of those victims and for the safety of the staff, that hospital remains on lockdown. As of right now, we're going to go ahead and toss things over to our social media guru, Victor Blanco, who's been checking in on social media, and he's also with Anthony Franz.
Dana, I just wanted to take this moment while we are talking about people reaching out and helping out.
Right.
If it's not life-threatening, there is a Facebook. People are reaching out for the Odessa shooting and the Midland shooting, offering help, offering food, offering water.
Right.
So
if any and all help is definitely necessary and also very appreciated if you can do so. Something that is, when we have a tragedy like this, is coming together is something that we really need to do.
It's very important. And if it's not exactly an emergency, maybe you're just scared and want to check in with people.
Right.
You know, the emergency services are going to be incredibly busy, so please check in with someone, check in on Facebook, check in on Twitter. Just let someone know you are okay. Again, at UTPB, they are holding, they've tweeted out several areas that you can go to. They're holding little get-togethers and gatherings for food, if you just need shelter, anything of that sort. And we're continuing to receive an outpour online of just it's crazy. It's overwhelming.
We've gotten so much in here. It's overwhelming how much people are coming together right now already, and we just need to continue to do that for all the 21 victims here and at least the 5 that have died today in this senseless shooting. So you want to talk about Brooks Landgraf's tweet
again,
here?
there you can see all of our local officials have been reaching out to send their condolences. Representative Landgraf is one of them here, saying the tragic situation unfolding in Odessa is serious. Please stay in your homes. He has said he's spoken with DPS officials, the Speaker, and the Governor, Governor Abbott, who said he will be coming to make a visit tomorrow, and that they will be working to help in any way possible, and again, asking for those prayers for the victims, for the law enforcement, for anyone involved. And again, just make sure you're checking in with your own family in the area. Check in online. Make sure everyone knows where you are and that you are safe in this trying time. We'll continue to monitor social media. If anything, any updates come there, we will we'll let you know. Dana, back to you.
Yeah. Thanks, Victor. So as we continue to break down the information that we've received, we just want to kind of go through it over and over for you guys, for those who are just tuning in. As we kind of move forward, you mentioned, Victor and Anthony, about the outpouring of support that social media has seen from across the country. I can speak from my experience in El Paso. I won't get into too much, but it's at times like this that communities have to pull together in order to remember one another and the bonds that we have, and remember the victims and mourn the victims. Moving forward, we're going to go ahead and show you some video right here. This is a scene outside of Synergy where that suspect's life was apparently ended before he killed 5 people and injured another 21 in the shooting. Now, Police Chief Gerke tells us that the suspect ended up at Synergy after what appears to be a wild ride of shooting and hijacking cars. It started with a traffic stop where he shot that DPS officer and then made his way eventually to 42nd Street near Twin Peaks, where several other shootings took place. And then before going to Midland and then coming back east to Synergy, where we take you right now with this video. As you can see, the crime scene kind of set up. And obviously just in that little 10, 15 yards of the camera shot, you can see how many police vehicles converged. I'm sure there's many more around the area, and that area is obviously all blocked off and locked off and still under investigation. So I think the message tonight is, as you can see right here, from heavy police presence and investigations, given the nature of this incident that traveled all throughout Midland and Odessa, there's going to be a lot of police presence, there's going to be a lot of investigations, there's going to be a lot of police activity tonight. That's why local authorities are asking you to just stay inside tonight. Stay inside tonight and protect yourself, embrace your loved ones, and most importantly, you know, allow police to finish securing the scene and finish their investigation and to operate doing the things that they need to do to keep this community safe. Right now we're going to go to some sound that we have sent to our newsroom from a witness to one of the scenes of the shooting.
Synergy was surrounded by police officers, and then there was police officers nearby the area. So as we were leaving, that's when we saw the U.S. Postal van going right as we passed the street at a high rate of speed going east, like towards Synergy. But they had drove behind Synergy. They had the roads blocked. He ran into a couple of police officers, and they were shooting at the van when it came to a stop. Once I guess they got nearby and they realized that he was not alive, is when they pulled him out of the van. Crazy. I mean, I just never realized that we would have experienced anything like that here in our own community. Because, I mean, we were running, and at the same time, you're looking out for your loved ones, making sure that they're behind you or close by. You know, your heart's going at 100 miles an hour thinking, are we going to get out of here alive? It was crazy. It was scary. It was crazy. Our hearts were racing, and, you know, I was telling my husband, I didn't know we were going to run out the front door and get shot or run out the front door and be safe.
Well, things are hectic out here. Had a lot of people scrambling into the Coliseum, just trying to get to safety, because there were, you know, rumors of active shooters in the area. Of course, that's all been confirmed now, so a lot of people just taking shelter inside the Coliseum. There's a mother kind of running out towards the midway where the rides are and whatnot, and saying she was going after her daughter. Oh my gosh, she had to get her daughter, and that was kind of sent everybody into a little frantic situation right there. But she got her daughter and a couple other little kiddos that were with that family. And shortly after that, quite a few people came running into the Coliseum. Heavy law enforcement presence on the premises still, and I would imagine that will continue to be the case still.
Yeah, and we continue to cover this story here where 5 people have unfortunately passed away, 21 injured in this senseless shooting tonight, or this evening.
Yes, in fact, our very own Sammy was
Right.
out there on the scene. She tweeted out, if you want to go ahead and read out there.
Yeah, Sammy Steele, our own reporter, tweeted out, Peach's Funeral Home says that they are going to provide free services for all the victims in this shooting. That's Peach's Funeral Home providing free services for all the victims in this shooting. And I think this is a live look at MCH.
Yes, the hospital right out here. This is the scene. You could see everyone is mourning and gathering here. Again, if you are on the scene, or if you are even if you're already at home and you're at safe, please let somebody know where you are so that we can make sure everyone, as many people as possible, are home and safe. Just send out a tweet, mark it on Facebook. Even on Snapchat, people are reaching out to share the situation as it happened, and now that everyone is okay. I'm not quite sure what you're seeing here, but again, it is everyone. It's a tough situation for everyone as well.
Very sad scene right there too.
Yes, as we all mourn the loss of at least 5 and 21 others that were injured.
Yeah, there's just not much else to say about it. Twitter, so many people from around the country, around the world are talking about Midland and Odessa right now, just a national story. And it's unfortunately, you don't always think that this is going to happen where you live. And that sounds cliche, and people always say it, but it's true. I was just watching college football today, and I saw messages keep streaming into our Facebook feed about shootings, and I couldn't believe it. And it's just hard to believe that this happens here.
Yeah, I live right next to Synergy, and I heard the gunshots from my apartment, and I ran down there to see what was going on. Didn't know the situation at the moment, but basically saw it unravel as it happened, and it was just tough to be there. It's tough now knowing what we know. Senator Corrin just tweeted out, he said that tonight we are with the entire Midland-Odessa community, especially the victims of this horrific tragedy, and he wants to thank law enforcement, first responders, and everyone involved for their courage in an impossible situation. Just a continuing outpour of support.
Yeah, we've seen so many messages like that, and while those are all appreciated, there are some things that maybe we can do too, donating water, donating possibly blood donations, and we'll try to get you information on that and how you can donate as soon as we know how we can do that too.
All right, well, I believe our reporter Phoenix O'Connor has more information for you. Phoenix, what can you tell us?
Thank you, Dana. So right now we're in the parking lot of the Medical Center Health and Wellness. It's right off the 191. It's also where the Veterans Hospital is. Now, if you pan over there, you can see that the scene is very much active. Now, what we are told is that the shooter's vehicle that he was in is over there in that area. Now, I cannot confirm that. That is just like what we have been told. I can also say that the traffic is moving pretty steadily off of 191, but you are still advised to stay indoors if you are there. As I just mentioned, maybe about 30 or 40 minutes ago, the Odessa police chief said that they are not sure whether or not there was a second shooter or not. They're still very much in the beginning stages of the investigation. I also see that I see some ATF agents that are here at the Medical Center Hospital right now. It looks like they are kind of going around the perimeter right now. Now, if you are worried about your loved one and you're wanting to know whether or not they are okay, if you go over to the Odessa Medical Center, they are having an area in the cafeteria where loved ones can go and speak to someone that is out there. Now, the names I have been told have not yet been released, but we can say that 21 people have been shot. We can confirm that 5 are dead. We are staying on top of this story. We are also on Lone Star Radio. We've been going on for the past 2 hours. Dana and Melissa, I've been hearing you guys on the radio. Now, if you want to know more information, of course, we're going to update you. Go to newswest9.com on our website. We also have an app where you can stay up to date and stay with us right here at News West 9. Coming to you in Midland, I'm Phoenix O'Connor. Back to you, Dana.
Thank you, Phoenix. So again, we're continuing to get that outpour. We've seen more tweets come in. Ted Cruz just tweeted a number of tweets saying that he and his wife Heidi are heartbroken by the heinous act, and they're lifting up prayers for all of the victims, the families, and the entire community, thanking law enforcement and the heroes that risked their lives to act swiftly and stop the shooter and save others. And I believe we've had even more. You said you saw Senator Beto
O'Rourke tweeted as well, just tweeting how we need to come together here in Midland and Odessa and just have that community spirit, and we can make it through things like this. We don't want to have to deal with these kind of things, but it's insanely sad. But it's something that we have to come together as a community and be able to just fight through it.
And again, if you are alone at home and you need to reach out, there's Facebook, there's Twitter. UTPB has set up a number of areas. Church services are coming together. The whole community is just coming together in the wake of this tragedy.
Right.
And again, we'll continue to bring all the information up to date as soon as we can and share some of the tweets that we're getting in. Again, we already heard from some of the senators, some of our representatives, and as we continue to get that, we'll share more with you. Let's go ahead and send things back over to Dana for a moment and see if we have any further updates, Dana.
Thank you guys for your hard work and continuing to keep your ears out to social media. Obviously, there's a lot going on out there in the social world. People want to know information, people want to reach out to us, and people want to express their condolences. And obviously, officials from Texas, we've heard from Ted Cruz, we've heard from Governor Abbott, we've heard from Ken Paxton, we've heard from Beto O'Rourke, even the president. Everyone's being briefed on what's happened, and everyone has expressed their condolences. Unfortunately, that's one of the only things we can do at this moment, is to remember those victims and to mourn them and to think about how we can prevent these things from happening in the future. Let's go ahead and I'm going to recap everything that we know about this deadly situation today that happened here in the Permian Basin in our home. Starting just about after 3:15 at approximately 3:17, there was a traffic stop in Midland County. It was conducted by a DPS officer. We're told that DPS officer was shot by the driver. That DPS officer is in stable condition, but that driver would then fled the scene, heading west down I-20 to about the East Loop, then again in Odessa. At that intersection or in that area, we're told that he shot another person, and then he traveled east on the loop to about 42nd Street in that Twin Peaks, Walmart, that very busy shopping district. And we're told that's where a lot of the mayhem unfolded. We're told there were several shootings there, several shots fired, multiple victims, and at some point that officer was able, or that shooter hijacked a vehicle, a federal mail van nonetheless, and then took off again back towards Midland. This is the timeline that Odessa Police Chief Gerke has painted for us. And at that point, on his way back to Midland, we're told a Midland police officer was injured in a shooting, and then that suspect at some point made its way back east, circling around, and then getting to that synergy where we're told that suspect's life was ended as police departments, the Odessa Police Department, the Midland Police Department, DPS, and several other local law enforcement agencies were all able to converge and funnel that suspect into one spot, get his vehicle stopped, exchange gunfire, and kill that suspect. Now, that suspect has been identified as a white male in his 30s by Police Chief Gerke. And what we know about the victims so far, we don't really know where people were shot, when people were shot, or how many people were shot in each location. But as of right now, we're told that 5 people are dead, 21 others were shot and injured. And that includes 1 MPD officer, 1 OPD officer, and 1 DPS officer, who we all expect to recover and are not suffering from life-threatening injuries. As far as at the hospital, the medical center hospital, they took, after this incident, once this emergency was in place, they brought in all of their staff to help accommodate this emergency. We just heard from them in a press conference not too long ago, approximately about 30 minutes ago. And they told us the first words out of the medical center hospital CEO's mouth, Russell Tippin, were to embrace your family tonight, to hold your loved ones, to call, to check up, and to appreciate the lives that we have. And for too many people, tragedy will strike them, whether it be friends or families of those 21 victims that were shot and the 5 that were killed. Too many people will have to have a painful conversation, have to have a painful phone call, or have to mourn from just such a senseless act of violence. Moving along with what took place at that press conference, we heard that Medical Center Hospital is hosting 14 victims, and they also set up a staging area for families where they can get food, water, stay in touch with one another at the hospital to be comfortable there with the victims of the shooting, and that they are also providing grief counselors. Now, the 14 victims that are at Medical Center Hospital all have varying conditions. We don't know how many are critical. We don't know how many are serious. We don't know how many are stable at this time. We expect to hear from the Medical Center Hospital again at 7:45 for a follow-up press conference. Now, as far as officials, this story obviously has made national news. It's gotten the attention of everyone in the country as we have to deal with another one of these horrific shootings that claimed senseless lives. We do know that President Trump has taken to Twitter a little earlier today, and he said he was briefed by the attorney generals about the shootings in Texas. FBI and law enforcement are fully engaged, and that they will have more to follow in the next coming hours or possibly tomorrow as we learn more about what the president's response will be. And we also know that Governor Abbott will be in the Permian Basin tomorrow to meet with victims' families and to meet with local law enforcement as they try to take the next steps in moving forward from a tragedy of this nature. He was just in El Paso just a few weeks ago to address that situation. I saw him there, and the governor spoke very diligently and took time to meet with families and victims and everything. So we can expect that same kind of outpour of support. We know Midland and Odessa is a very tight-knit community, and we know that the people here will come together, and we will honor and mourn and make it through this, as difficult and as painful as it might be. Now we're going to go ahead and toss things over back to Victor and Anthony, who have more from social media.
Thank you, Dana. As you said, we have been going through this, and there is a warning on Twitter that will tell you some of the content you'll see on there is fairly graphic. People who were on the scene as it happened.
As everything unfolded, people were able to snag some video, and unfortunately some of that's very difficult to see. So it's just a warning, if you do go look for that kind of stuff, some of that information, some of that video, some of those images are hard to look at.
Yes, but it is very important that we do all come together at this time. Again, on Facebook, you can reach out there and mark yourself as safe, let people know, call your loved ones, and it's just the community needs to come together right now and rebuild after this terrible tragedy. And as Dana said, Trump was tweeting, and he's joined by lots of other government officials. Kamala Harris just tweeted out that she's also heartbroken for the families and victims in Odessa and Midland, and she's hoping for a future without multiple mass shootings. But again, the outpour just continues to come in, and we just see...
We've had tweets from, of course, President Trump. We've had tweets from Beto O'Rourke. We've had tweets from Ted Cruz. Senator John Cornyn tweeted tonight, we are with the entire Midland-Odessa community, especially the victims of this horrific tragedy. I want to thank law enforcement and first responders for their courage in an impossible situation. That's something that maybe sometimes will get overlooked, is the law enforcement that were able to stop this man finally without doing any more damage than he already did.
Definitely. And again, I've already marked myself safe here on Facebook. People are offering all kinds of support beyond just medical emergencies. So if it's not an emergency and you just want to reach out to somebody, maybe you need some food, some water, let somebody know that you're safe, that's where you can do that. And again, more information will be made available on newswest9.com, and our own Facebook and Twitter will be sending out all of those live updates as well.
Right. And but yeah, just basically we just, in a situation like this, we've talked about this plenty of times, it's just incredibly difficult to know what to do right now. People may be in shock right now, but it's important to just be with your family, hug your loved ones, and tell them that you love them right now, because life is precious, life is short sometimes. It's shorter than sometimes we expect, and something like this is something that makes a situation where we just need to come together as a community, as a Midland and Odessa community, and just fight through it.
And it is so terrible that anyone would lose their life, but Perch's funeral homes here in Odessa has given the green light. They will be giving free funeral services to all of the victims. So they wanted to put that news out there, and they shared that via social media as well. So again, we're continuing to monitor that, and we will check in once again in a few moments. Let's throw things back to you, Dana, and see if there's any more updates.
Thank you, Victor, Anthony. Your work is very appreciated. You know, we're going to try and compile all the latest information that we can get. We know that there will be another press conference at 7:45. We'll certainly be streaming that live for you from MCH as they brief us on the latest of what's going on with the 14 victims that they have set up at the hospital right now. One thing that they told us was that their conditions vary, so we don't know how many people are in critical, we don't know how many people are in serious or just stable condition. So we'll have to monitor that, and we'll have to continue to look for the updates that we can get on that, so we can, you know, continue to express our support, and possibly, if we need to donate blood, we can get the word out, and local agencies can set up events so we can get the blood that's needed to continue to care for those victims who may be in a critical state. That's what we have coming up. You know, it's a tough day in the Permian Basin. It's something that I don't think anybody ever expected. This community so close-knit, this community, Midland and Odessa. Everyone, since I've been out here for the 2 years that I've been covering Midland, Odessa, I've never met anybody that I would qualify as mean or nasty. It's been nothing but friendly and welcoming, and it's just a shock to me that this kind of incident could take place in a community like this. I know we are going to log off here at 7:30 as we continue to compile information, and we'll get you that press conference live stream, and we'll certainly have more from it tonight. We'll be live at 10 o'clock for our regularly scheduled newscast. We'll allow you to get back to scheduled programming. We do have some video coming in right now that's attaching. If we don't get to it right now, we'll certainly share it with you a little bit later. And unfortunately, it's of that 17-month-old victim as she was airlifted to the University Medical Center Hospital in Lubbock, where her condition also remains unknown. But here at News West 9, the last thing I'd like to, before we depart here, is just to let you know that please stay in tonight. Police are still active. Police are still working. There are still police presence. There's still investigations that need to take place given the nature of this shooting and how he hijacked cars and shot people here and shot people over there. There's still a lot of investigations. Allow police to secure their area. Allow police to conduct their investigations. Stay in tonight. Enjoy a home-cooked meal. Love your loved ones. Embrace your loved ones. Call a relative you haven't spoken to in a while. Tell them how much they mean to you. And we'll obviously be doing a lot for the victims here in the next couple of days. And it's a sad day here in the Permian Basin, but we will continue to move forward. We will continue to provide you the latest. Hold on one second. We're going to make an adjustment right here. Okay, that appears to be all for our coverage at this moment. We're going to go ahead and toss things up. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and toss things back over to Victor and Anthony. Apologize for the confusion as we continue to report on.
Thank you, Dana. And we did just want to share a couple last things that we found out. There was some help coming that you heard from San Angelo.
Right, we heard that San Angelo, the city, is sending blood over to Midland and Odessa, so a very good thing there. And if we do need more additional blood donations, if we hear of that, we'll definitely pass that information along to you as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and again, people are reaching out through Facebook to offer food, water, even work if you need some help. Just adjusting, and it's such a big time for all of the community to come together and to just share in the tragedy, which is a terrible thing to unite us, but
Right.
it is important at this time that we come together.
Very important to do that. I mean, you really hope that this situation never arises, but you're exactly right. Even though it did arise, that means we have to come together to make sure that the victims' families are okay, are going to be okay. It's going to be some wounds that are going to have to take some time to heal. But as we come together as a community, we can make that happen just by being there for each other, loving one another, and being a Permian Basin community here in West Texas.
Certainly, and if you want to reach out, again, UTPB has set up several centers. There are church areas. You can find them all online. More details are available on newswest9.com. I believe we have a little bit more.
Right. Sorry, what?
I believe we have a little bit more. We'll go ahead and send things back to Dana to go ahead and close this out.
Thanks, guys. We are going to go ahead and stay on the air until we get to that Medical Center Hospital conference that is scheduled to take place at 7:45 at the Medical Center Hospital with the CEO of the Medical Center Hospital, Russell Tippin. We do know at the Medical Center Hospital that, again, they have 14 victims there of all varying conditions, so we'll see if we can get some clarity on that matter to see how many are in critical, how many are stable, and if we need to get the word out on whether there needs to be some blood drives to take care of those victims in the coming days. At this time, I want to go ahead and recap of what we know, given the nature of the situation. If you're just tuning in or if you're just trying to cope and understand what happened, I think as we all are within the community today, we'll go ahead and start from the top. We know that just after 3:15 at approximately 3:17, a traffic stop by DPS of a gold Honda turned into a shooting when the driver opened fire on the officer who was conducting that traffic stop. He was shot. Then after shooting that officer, that suspect/driver took off, fled the scene, headed west to about I-20 in Odessa and the East Loop, where we're told he opened fire again and struck a civilian. At that point, he went ahead and headed east on the East Loop. Now, this timeline that I'm telling you, just to go ahead and preference it, this is what has been reported by Odessa Police Chief Gerke, and he's basically told us that this is the most accurate information that they have at this time, though it is subject to change at any time. So back to where we were of the suspect, after shooting some people on I-20 at the East Loop, he headed east to 42nd Street, and that again is where the majority of the mayhem is being reported. We do know that we're going to go ahead and interrupt this timeline and go ahead and toss things back out to Phoenix O'Connor, who has another update from us. So, Phoenix, what do you have?
Thank you, Dana. So I am still at the Medical Health and Wellness Center. I'm here in the parking lot, but behind me, you can see that the scene, again, is still active. I see ATF, I see Midland Police Department and the fire department all there. It looks like they are still conducting investigation. It's taped off all the way to the Synergy movie theater. I also have been told that the shooter's car was in there. Looks like they are still holding an investigation. You cannot get into that movie theater. It is locked down. When it comes here to the Health and Wellness Center, it looks like they're not allowing people in here either. They have that blocked off. When it comes to 191, it does look like it is clear and good to go. However, I'm going to encourage everyone to go ahead and still stay inside doors. I have not been told that they were cleared. Earlier when I spoke with the Odessa police chief, he said that there possibly could be a second shooter, but they do not know. And as you guys know at home, I am from here in Midland, and I do have some friends that were shot today, and it is a very scary situation, and I hope that we can all come together and pray together. I have been told, with that said, that if you do have a loved one that is inside the hospital, they are then advised not to be on their phones. They're only allowed to text, so do keep that in consideration. But if you do want to kind of check in on a loved one at the Odessa Medical Center around the cafeteria area, that is where they're going to have kind of an area for loved ones to go to speak with someone. Now, we are again told that 21 people were shot and there is 5 confirmed dead. Now, stay with us right here on News West 9. We're going to have all that updated information. We also have an app that you can download where you can find notifications, and of course our website, newswest9.com. I'm here in Midland. Phoenix O'Connor, back to you, Dana.
We have some sandwiches if y'all would like a sandwich. Is anybody hungry? No? You're okay? Is anybody hungry? We have sandwiches we can bring if you want something to eat. Yes? You're good? You want one? Okay. Okay. Thank you. I know you've been out here a good long time, so we want to take care of you. We also have chairs on that car.
hung up or not. A little bit cooler out here this time.
Good. We'll go in 2 minutes, if that gives you enough time.
Yes, sir, it does.
2 minutes.
Sorry.
You got 2 minutes.
You can throw it in the back.
There you are. You can put it on.
Hello? Yes, how are you?
Everybody okay?
They're gonna do
Yeah.
Yes, we're rolling.
okay.
I think at the end I was going to say we're entering the recovery phase and going back to normal operations. So
See, okay.
All right, y'all ready? Okay. 7:45. We just want to give another update. Again, some things are starting to come into focus a little more. Like I started off with earlier, it's very important to me, to y'all, to know that first and foremost, to start this healing process starts within, and that this community needs to love each other and pray for each other and pray for the victims and their families. That's most important, is to remember those people and to grab onto your loved ones tonight. I want to update you on what's happening right here at Medical Center, what we have going, and I've got some updated numbers, and I'll try to go through those quickly but accurately. A minute ago, earlier when I came out, I reported 14 here. That number is 13. One of the people we had was caught in the action and was not related to this incident. So the number is 13, okay? So I want to correct that the number is 13. Out of those 13, we have had 2 that have been treated and released. We have 7 that are critical. And when I say critical, most of those have been in surgery and are out of surgery, 7 of those, okay? Those are critical. 2 serious, 1 deceased, and we have 1 transferred, a pediatric patient under the age of 2 years old that was transferred out of here, okay? So I'll go over those one more time. 7 critical, 2 serious, 1 deceased, 1 transferred under the age of 2 years old, okay? 8 of the 8, we've had 8 people total in surgery, and most of those are out and have gone very well. Let me just talk about our blood supply. We're getting a lot of calls about blood supply. Our blood supply currently is good. We're okay right now. We appreciate all the calls, and the outpouring has been nationwide. We're getting calls all over the nation about what's going on. And first and foremost, we want to say thank you for that, because that really shows the support that we have for each other. Our supplies are good. The blood is good. Let me just comment briefly on the families. I know there is a family gathering center that's been set up here in Odessa, and I'll get that in just a second, but I'll get that out. But there is a family center that has been set up for people to gather if they have any questions, okay? Y'all may know that already, but I just wanted to bring that out. But we're still on lockdown. I still think for the safety of our patients and the victims and the victims' families that we need to stay on lockdown just to keep it under control. We hope to have that lifted before too long, but right now I think it's in the best interest to keep it locked down where it is, okay? Our staff has been amazing, but that's not the point here. The point right now is that these victims are being taken care of, and so we're just trying to do right by them, okay? Let me introduce just a few people that will take just a few questions, okay? This is Matt. He's our Chief Operations Officer. Matt's here. This is Dr. Bose, one of our trauma doctors. And I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Bose just for a second, just to talk about gunshot victims and what things like that are, and I'll let him speak to it in just a minute. We'll come back to me, then to Matt for any follow-up questions, okay? I'll hand it over to Dr. Bowes here for just a second.
Thank you. So first of all, our thoughts are with the families. And when a situation like this happens, it's actions that come together from preparation years in advance. So over the last several years, we've formed committees where we've coordinated the many elements that will be necessary here: police, sheriff, school departments, Odessa Fire and Rescue, where I'm the medical director, the emergency room, and other parties that are involved. Here, when everyone arrived, it was well orchestrated. We received 13 patients, and because of this preparation, we were able to call in our backups, anesthesiologists, operating room staffs, techs, nurses. This was a great team effort for everybody when the patients arrived. After they arrived, we were able to do the initial stabilizing maneuvers on everyone. And the emphasis I would give here, and I think a take-home point, especially for the national viewers, is I encourage everyone in every community, no matter what size, if you're in the middle of the desert, you're in an urban area, to prepare in advance. Unfortunately, it may not be a matter of if, it may be a matter of when, and for us, this preparation really helped us today. Our thoughts are with the family. And another thing I'd mention is whenever there is something on the national scale like this, it starts as a local response. It starts right there at the community. It starts with knowing how to stop bleeding. It starts with how to do BLS and chest compressions. And this is something that we as Americans can do, and we're encouraging this in the Midland, Odessa community, and we really encourage this at Medical Center Hospital. And you guys out there, wherever you're watching nationwide, you can make a huge difference for people, because when they arrive here, the response can stay local. Because if you've practiced this, you don't need to call in the state. You don't need to call the governor. You don't need to activate FEMA and national, resources. So we can do this. We can come together, and I think our community here has shown how we can do that. And I think our families are going to come together, and we're going to become stronger from this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's turn it over to Matt. Matt.
Hi, my name is Matt Collins. I was the incident commander for this incident. First of all, of course, our hearts and prayers go out to all of the victims and their families and our hospital staff as well. This has been a very, very difficult situation. We really have 3 phases of operations inside the hospital when this happens. We have an activation phase, and then we have operational periods. We've just completed operational period 1 and 2, and at 7:30 we went into the final phase, which is a recovery phase. And that's where we start putting everything back together, getting back to normal operations, and taking care of our staff, and to continue to take care of those patients that have just gone through this horrific situation. So with that said, I'd be happy to answer any questions that I can. Of course, we're not able to release names or any information regarding the victims.
Sir, for the one victim who was transferred, the child that was under 2 years old, were they transferred to Lubbock? Do you know the status of that child?
I am not certain, but they were life-flighted to Lubbock or Children's in Dallas.
Do we know if the person who was deceased here was part of the original 5 that were reported dead?
My understanding, all I can tell you is we know that that person was involved in this incident and had a fatal gunshot wound.
What personally was going through, your staff and your mind when patients started coming in and calls started coming in? What was going through your guys' mind as a hospital staff?
Honestly, it's not a time for us to think a lot. We've done a lot of preparation for this day, and we work through these things in simulated situations several times a year. So everybody has a role that they fall into, and everybody fell into that role. And the hospital and all of the staff performed admirably, but ultimately we're here to serve those victims and the families, so it's not really about us today.
I believe earlier the CEO mentioned that you have an area specifically for families. I know you're under lockdown right now, but is that area still open to families who are trying to get to the hospital?
We do. Of course, you know this happens when all of the media is released and social media reports. People come to the hospital seeking reports on their loved ones. So we have a location inside the hospital where we congregated all of those families, and we had a senior nursing official work to reunify them and get as much information as we could to each and every family member. It's my understanding that that room is down to just a couple of families now, and that we've communicated with everybody that we can.
Are there any streets that are going to be blocked off or closed down to funnel traffic through, or have things died down?
We're going to keep the hospital into a lockdown situation until approximately 10 p.m. just for staff comfort and safety, but the hospital is back to normal operations at this time.
So if you guys had been less prepared, how do you think the situation could have been different? It seems like that preparation made the difference.
It did make the difference. I can't tell you because we are prepared, but I think if we were not, we may not have had the same rapid response to the situation and the great outcomes that we had. I mean, we saved 12 people today.
Can you confirm that the hospital is in need of more nurses to show up to help with victims, or?
We're using our own internal communication systems to make sure that we're adequately staffed for the unit for the evening. And yes, we are actually above normal staffing levels for this evening, going into the weekend. And the hospital is back to normal operations.
As of right now, do you guys need more nurses, or?
Right now, it's being reported to us that we're fully staffed. We activate what's called call trees, where managers start them, then they call one person after another, and we had the exact response that we would have ever hoped for in the situation. Not only for nurses, but for doctors and all of the other support staff and police officers, security, everybody that we need to manage an incident like this.
And for people who are watching at home right now, I know that you mentioned your blood supplies are good. That's very good news. And then your supplies inside the hospital are doing well as well. But what can they do to help?
You know, as our CEO said a few minutes ago, the community needs your prayers. The victims need your prayers. Families need your prayers. The hospital staff needs your prayers. What we call cash emergency supplies. So when there is a situation like this where we consume lots of supplies while giving the care, we're able to replenish them quickly enough to maintain operations.
I think that's pretty much everything I have, except for you said that y'all were moving into the third phase, which is kind of putting things back together and going back to normal. Is that because most of the patients are kind of getting in that stable, condition?
Those patients, there's 8 that are 7 critical and 2 that are serious. So I can't give you an update on their exact status, but they are receiving the appropriate care at the level of care they're at.
I just have a quick question for the doctor, and we can just keep the mic on you. Have you responded to any of this situation before? And when you did start getting the calls that this was happening, as a doctor, what went through your mind at first?
First, I would emphasize that this is not about the doctor. It's not about us. It's about the family. But myself, personally, I'm an Iraq war veteran. I served 12 years in the military and served in the Second Battle of Fallujah and Baghdad. And this is something that, unfortunately, I'm very experienced at, mass casualty situations. And this is what led us to form the preparation process with hundreds and hundreds of people that you are not seeing here that are very intricately involved in a situation like this. So as far as for the public out there, the message for them, I think what they can do to help, we always say thoughts and prayers, that's great, but go out there, take a BLS class, go out there, learn about how to stop bleeding, go out there and practice safety. Don't text and drive. Don't do things where you put yourself and others in danger. And this is something that we can do as a nation to help here.
Was there anything based on either possibly a weapon that may have been used or the ammunition that was used that made this worse than maybe a typical gunshot wound or anything else?
So typically I can reliably comment on what's happening in the walls of the emergency room. So it'd be speculation about what is going on the streets and what streets are closed and what weapons were used. I don't want to say the wrong information. So.
I have one more question
Yes, ma'am.
Can you confirm any local law enforcement? Are there any police officers in the hospital right now who are either recovering in stable condition or in critical condition that you can say?
I don't want to say the wrong information, but from my understanding of the situation, the vast majority came to Medical Center Hospital. We are the highest level trauma center for over 30,000 square miles in this region. So over 30,000 square miles. So the majority came here. There were a few that went to some outlying trauma centers as well. So who was an officer and who wasn't and who was where, it would be speculation on my end. Our end, we were just trying to do the basics, stop bleeding, resuscitate, and use our well-trained techs, nurses, staff, physicians, everyone to get the job done.
I've got one more for you.
Yes, sir.
So going back to that preparation, you as a doctor, is there anything specific that you guys prepared that was super beneficial in the position of a doctor?
These things don't just happen. You have to prepare. So everything from who comes in to where family members go, to how to keep ourselves safe, how to prevent wrong messages going out to the media, how to keep the calm and do this in a calm situation. This doesn't happen by accident. This takes years of preparation, and I encourage every community to do this. This is not an urban community here, but this happened here. And this can happen anywhere across America. And I think what I personally took from this is a team here in West Texas, in the deserts of West Texas, was maximally prepared at this trauma center to take care of everyone. And I don't think this is beyond us. Anybody can do this. Please be prepared.
Thank you.
I've got one more. I do have the information on the family center is located at a setup at Ector County Annex Building on 1010 East 8th Street. 1010 East 8th Street. And that's for the family center, the reunification center there, okay? Any other questions before we wrap this up? Man,
several. We called in
a lot.
So we had our basic emergency department crew, and then on top of that, we have backup emergency department crew. But often you have to figure out the bottlenecks in your system, and this came from our preparation. The bottleneck may not be the emergency room; it may be the operating room, the anesthesiologist. So we prepared this in advance. Everybody was called in, from extra nurses, extra techs, extra, custodians. They may save more lives than anybody by preventing infection. So this is a team effort, and we were prepared for this, and the whole team was called in.
Thank you.
Just the last thing, we're gonna stay on lockdown until 10 o'clock. At 10 o'clock, we'll reassess the situation, make sure we're safe. I don't plan on having another one of these unless something drastically changes, okay? But if we do, we'll get the notification out to everybody. But thank y'all for being here. And one final word just to everybody listening to our voice today and tonight is when you go to bed tonight with your families, you need to grab them and hold on tight, because nobody's guaranteed the next day. And grab onto your families and love them, and pray for our staff, our doctors, and these victims families, and hold on to your loved ones tonight. And all we can say is, God bless Texas, God bless Odessa and Medical Center, United States, and love on your family tonight. And thank y'all very much. That's all. Thank y'all.
Thank you, everybody.